few miles from the beaches of Southern California after another gorgeous day out west. We welcome you to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. This is a conference that's been owned by Gonzaga over the course of the last 9 years. The only time they didn't win the championship game of the West Coast Conference was right here in this building against this team. San Diego taking on Gonzaga for the automatic NCAA tournament bid. A lot of work done last night. Gonzaga avoiding the upset barely by Santa Clara to advance. St. Mary's had San Diego down by 17. Somehow, someway in double overtime, San Diego came back to win. The two earlier matchups between these two this year, both won by Gonzaga. The first time by 10 points and the second time by 4. And everybody, welcome Terry Gannon along with Stephen Bardo. Glad to have you with us. A lot of rooting interest in this one. Not just the fans for Gonzaga and San Diego, but for bubble teams, their fans across the country.
Yeah, this could have a ripple effect, Terry. Teams from BCS conferences like Ohio State, Ole Miss, Arizona will be watching this game closely, because if San Diego gets in, the question is, can the WCC get 3 teams in?
Or will it be 2? Fans of St. Mary's certainly watching this one. They went down to defeat last night. Check out our Star Watch right now, and a couple of point guards, 2 of the best in this conference. Certainly Brandon Johnson, a huge game last night. Jeremy Pargo, the player of the year in the conference.
Jeremy Pargo, one of the more underrated point guards in the nation, had a tough game last game. I expect him to bounce back. Brandon Johnson, the shot maker, did a fantastic job throughout both overtime sessions last night.
Yeah, think about that. 50 minutes last night for San Diego. As we check out their starting lineup, will that play a role tonight? Brandon Johnson, Johnson and Johnson in the backcourt with Tremaine. Deshaun Jackson had a big game in the quarterfinals. Rob Jones and Gino Palmer, an all-conference performer. And for Gonzaga, Pargo, Matt Bolden, their leading scorers. Stephen Gray, just a freshman. Pendergraft, a senior, an all-conference performer. And Abdullah Kuso getting the start tonight. The Zags come in at 25-6. And they have won 8 of the last 9 West Coast Conference tournaments. San Diego in blue, Gonzaga in white as we play on the campus of the Toreros. Dave Libby, Mark Reichling, and Tom Wood, your officiating crew tonight, as the title is about to be decided. And a full house here at the Jenny Craig Pavilion. San Diego controls the opening tip. Tremaine Johnson running the point. They got off to an awful start last night against St. Mary's, the number 2 seed. They were down 17 in the first half. Didn't take the lead until the first overtime. Abdullah Kuso with the block, and I would expect the Zags to try to run early in this one. Pendergraft for 3, no.
Yeah, you're going to see a contrast in style. San Diego, more ball control, take a little time off the shot clock each possession. Gonzaga can do that, but they prefer to get up and down.
Brandon Johnson, a step back in the lane over Stephen Gray, his first deuce. He had a career high last night, 28, to go along with 8 rebounds.
And some spectacular finishes around the bucket.
He did, didn't he?
Man.
Zags trying to get Kuso to basketball. Now set the screen for Pargo, who not only was player of the year, but the heart and soul of this team. You take him away, this is an entirely different Gonzaga club. Loose ball, Johnson comes up with it.
Well, early readings show that San Diego, we thought, might come out a little slow based on having to play so long last night, but they look pretty good right now.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think they come out of the gate with the adrenaline. Kuso ahead of the pack. Abdullah, one of the 2 seniors, along with David Pendergraft. And it's 2-2. I think bigger key for San Diego is, do they substitute? Do they rest guys? And in the second half, do they have enough gas to get there?
That's true, too. And you know, sometimes you get guys that come out and they're fired up because of this electricity in the building. And then some guys are just flat because this is their 3rd game in 3 days. But we'll have to see as it goes along. But this San Diego ball club, a lot of heart, Terry. We saw that last night.
They never gave up last night. Some of the fans even left. Full house tonight. It's been loud an hour before the game. They've been into it. Shot clock violation. So Brandon Johnson did not get the shot off.
This is Gonzaga at its best. Get the ball to Jeremy Pargo. He keeps his head up. Abdullah Kuso beating the rest of the people down the court.
How about the coaching matchup tonight, too? Mark Few, one of the best in the country, and fans know all about him. But Billy Greer, in his first year here at San Diego, was a longtime assistant for Mark Few. 16 years on the bench at Gonzaga. Pendergraft over Rob Jones. That's a deuce. David averaging 9 points a game and 4.5 rebounds doesn't begin to tell the story in terms of his contribution.
Yeah, Pendergraft does a little bit of everything for this Gonzaga ball club. And great defender, great senior leadership, and just a fiery guy. Hate to play against him, but love to have him on your squad.
Gino Palmero, who had 22 points and 12 rebounds last night, tipped out. It stays here with San Diego. So Billy Greer, when you spend time around him, you look at his resume, 44 years of age and 16 years at Gonzaga. Not only is he great friends still with the entire staff at Gonzaga, his mannerism, his speech, the way he talks, you think you're listening and watching Mark Few.
Yeah, those 16 years definitely rubbed off. And we were talking to Leon Rice, assistant coach at Gonzaga, talking about how they used to go at each other and pick up basketball.
Wipe off the bucket, so back-to-back possessions where Billy Greer's club can't get a shot off. Another shot clock violation.
Well, Billy Greer said it in the post-game comments that he thinks this might be the best defensive team Gonzaga's had in quite a while. So people know them for their scoring ability, but when they can sit down on you defensively, they're awfully tough to beat.
He would know. Cuso and the foul. He'll go to the free throw line. Foul on Gino Palmer, his first. Mark Few with 236 wins in his career. And the co-coach of the year along with Randy Bennett. Mark seems to win it just about every year. It was a great scene last night during the semifinals, though. He wasn't here in the second game, but his entire staff was. They stayed to the end, and they know everything St. Mary's and San Diego, everything about them at this point. You just wonder, odd way, were they staying to root for Billy Greer?
Oh, there's no question about it. And they were hoping that the cameras didn't get on them too much there because they were pumping their fists, pulling for their friend. But they said when the clock struck midnight, they knew that it was on and popping. They had to get ready to try to beat this really surprising San Diego club.
No longer a friend, now a foe. Jackson, tough to go against both of the defenders. Palmer with the follow, and he gets a lot of points that way.
He really does, and that was their best offense. San Diego last night for a while was off the offensive glass. Palmer just very active.
Cuso called for the walking violation. First turnover against Gonzaga.
This is what he was doing last night, and Gino Palmer right there going to the hole, just following the flow to the bucket. Comes there, Matt Bolden doesn't box him out. Gonzaga pays the price.
Their second leading scorer, their leading rebounder here at San Diego, the junior from Oceanside, California, and a first-team all-conference performer. Rob Jones inside the arc, the freshman, halfway down and out.
This young man with the basketball is waiting for the game to come to him, but Pargo's going to have to step up and have a much better game if they want to be successful.
Matt Bolden buys the deuce. The sophomore from Highlands Ranch, Colorado, his first bucket of the game. He averages about 13 points a game, and he is their leading scorer, which tells you that they have a lot of balance on this squad. Gonzaga is as deep as we've seen in a number of years, as big coming off the bench, and as versatile.
Yeah, I agree with that, Terry, because typically they've had an Adam Morrison, a guy that they could count on for 25 a game. They don't have that this year, but they make up for it in versatility and depth.
In, out, back in again. Off 1 foot, Brandon Johnson. 17 a game for the junior from Houston. Here comes Pargo, though, and he draws the foul. He'll go to the line. Don't celebrate your hoop tonight if you're San Diego.
Well, Matt Bolden coming through with the silky smooth jumper off the bounce. And this is a replay of last night. The back foot floater for Brandon Johnson.
And meanwhile here at the Jenny Craig Pavilion, it is a one-point game. Early on, 15-13 to go here in the first half. But San Diego hanging with Gonzaga. It was 2003, the last time the Zags and Mark Few did not win the conference tournament. And it was right here in this building, and it was San Diego, the team that beat them.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. And, even better stat, Terry, 22 out of 23 times. The last times, 23 times these two teams have played, Gonzaga's won 22 of them.
We're getting word now that they've made a switch in terms of the officials. Dave Libby has, in the words of the officials, torn his calf. So he's got a leg injury, and Dave Eggers comes on as a substitute official, and Pargo gets the free throw, and there's Vegas. So our best to Dave Libby dealing with that injury. But San Diego loses 22 of 23 to Gonzaga. What do? They go out and they hire the Gonzaga assistant coach. That's what anybody would do.
So you can't beat them, join them, huh? Or take a page from their book. But yeah, just an amazing run for Gonzaga, and it's just another illustration of their dominance in this conference. And they play one of the best non-conference schedules in the country, Terry, and still come back to their conference, take everyone's best shot, and still win. Still find a way to win. Incredible job by Mark Hugh and his staff.
Shot clock down to 5. You don't want another violation. Jackson, the skip pass, they're not going to get this one off. That's the third shot clock violation already for San Diego.
Well, it looks like they want to take some time off the shot clock, but they're waiting too long to get into whatever they're trying to do.
Pargo says, I got a freshman on me? That doesn't work. Jeremy, who had a quiet night last night in the semis, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. That's it. Had his game face on early tonight.
Yes, he did. He's usually a little bit more jovial and friendly. He was all business.
Wild miss for Brandon Johnson. Didn't miss many of those in the second half against St. Mary's. Pargo one-on-one with Johnson. Nice dish down low to Heitfeld, who, if you haven't followed Gonzaga and us throughout the year on Big Mondays, he was out the first part of the year with a foot injury, and he is just now getting back to 100%, and we're starting to see signs that Heitfeld is again Heitfeld.
Yes, he is. Sweet dish off the bounce, and Heitfeld does the rest.
A 6-0 run for the Zags in the last minute and 22 seconds, and they have a 7-point lead. I'm not sure that Tremaine Johnson can stay with Jeremy Pargo tonight.
No, I agree with you, Terry. You broke it down very well last night. Why Brody Angley was having so much success defensively against Pargo, because he's as strong as Jeremy, but Tremaine Johnson hasn't seen the weight room enough to keep up with Jeremy Pargo in that regard.
Johnson, the 6'2", 180-pound freshman from Houston. Here he is with the basketball. Gino Palmer, contact no call, there's a turnover. Bolden. Good defense from Jackson.
Dejon Jackson, a fearless defender, and he's really overhandling here early, I think, Terry. He's gotten the ball late in the shot clock, and it's resulting in 3 shot clock violations.
Brandon Johnson, I'm not sure he can take a shot without floating, without falling back.
Yeah, you said that's his rhythm, huh?
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah, 6 points already.
He does it well, too. Very difficult to fade and get enough arc on the shot to drop, but boy, he seemed to have figured it out. We've seen that on a number of occasions here last couple days.
Pargo threw it away. Bolden was cutting the other way. So the second turnover for the Zags.
Well, I said Johnson. I used to say Fifth Ward, but he corrected me. He said Missouri City. That's Missouri City fadeaway right there. Brandon Johnson.
Now, what's the difference jump shot-wise?
Huh?
Can you define the Fifth Ward in the Missouri City difference, jump shot-wise?
Fifth Ward, you go to the hole. Missouri City's the fadeaway jump.
All right.
Yeah.
To clear that up.
Fifth Ward is nothing but hard.
Micah Downs off the bench for Gonzaga, along with Austin Day, one of the best freshmen in this conference, if not the country. And the foul on the Zags.
You know, you have to take your hat off to Gino Palmer along the baseline. He is laying his body on the defender, on guys like Bolden, Micah Downs, who are trying to keep up with Brandon Johnson. He's freeing him up every time on the down screen, really giving his body up.
Johnson the miss. Chris Lewis, a sophomore from Bedford, Texas, off the bench for San Diego. And also Danny Brown. the junior who only played on a possession or two last night. So Billy Greer making sure that he rests his starters early in the game. But I'm not sure Brandon Johnson's going to get much of a rest throughout this. He played 50 minutes last night.
And you know what, Terry? I don't think he wants much rest, quite honestly. He knows what's at stake. They would really be doing something special here. And it pose the question, do 3 get out of the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga and St. Mary's having spectacular regular season?
Spectacular, describing most of the moves from Pargo throughout the season. That one not able to connect. Once he gets into the lane, it's tough to stop him. And this man, too. Palmer, the loose ball rebound. They haven't added it up, but if you took all of his points that he got that way throughout the season, yes, I bet it'd be near 50%.
I agree, Terry, and he's smart because he knows, like everyone else in the building, when Brandon Johnson has the ball, he's gonna draw a crowd.
Foul on San Diego. Danny Brown picks up his first. Mark Few and Gonzaga a 3-point lead. Black Magic, we'll tell you more about that. Great thing you don't want to miss coming up. That's next. 13-10, Gonzaga here in the championship game of the West Coast Conference. We mentioned Black Magic going to break. It's a 2-day, 4-hour film telling the story of the injustice which characterized the civil rights movement in America, as told through the lives of basketball players and coaches who attended historically black colleges and universities.
Kansas City's Municipal Auditorium is the scene of the NAIA Championship as Eau Claire challenges Kentucky State and its one-man gang named Travis Grant.
Kentucky State won 3 straight championships in the early 70s thanks to Travis Machine Gun Grant. He averaged 33 points a game and still holds the NAIA record for most career field goals. Black Magic debuts March 16th at 9 Eastern on ESPN.
We got a little preview of that a couple of weeks ago, and looks like it'll be special. One of the producers,
Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Yep.
Boy, I tell you what, young people, especially young players, need to watch that series. Unbelievable footage, and you won't really comprehend the success of some of those players in that footage. It's great stuff.
And appreciating how we got to this point, where we are in American society. Golden Heitfeld active on the glass. Last night was one of his better efforts this year. Tipped out, though, and it stays with the Zags.
Well, we got a good look at a little bit of versatility from Gonzaga. Matt Bolden posted up, posted the smaller Brown. See if he can do some damage there in the paint.
Austin Day, Darren Day's son, gets the jumper, and that's one of many things he does very well. 6'10", 190-pound freshman from Irvine, California. And specifically thought Gonzaga was the perfect place for him, as did his dad. Palmer, nope, Day the rebound.
That's one place where Palmer struggles. He doesn't have the athleticism, Terry, to get above the rim to finish, so he's got to use his body to get better position.
Mark Few not happy with his freshman right now, but Darren Day and Austin Day thought not only in terms of a program, but in terms of a school, Spokane was the right place.
Yeah, smaller class sizes, a little bit more individual attention. And Darren Day made a great point, Terry. He thought that going to UCLA with other All-Americans maybe lessened his opportunities, whereas Austin Day coming to a program like Gonzaga, they have their All-Americans as well, but he could be one of the featured guys in this attack.
I think around the country, people don't yet really know about Austin Day. They will next year, especially when some of the freshmen who are stars move on to the NBA next year. Physically, he's not ready. Lewis, around Day and over Kuso.
Well, that was an aggressive move by Chris Lewis, who's known more for his face-up game than his post game, but he took advantage of Day on the block.
Lewis was a member of the all-freshman team last year. He's now a sophomore. Downs says it was tipped out. The officials say it was not. So the 4th turnover for Mark Few's club.
Mark Few. Boy, he's got, I don't know if it's Gruden-esque in terms of that stare that he does.
It's a nice adjective. I didn't know what you were saying there for. You're right.
Yeah, John Gruden-like, but boy, he gives that stare. You do not want to go to that sideline.
In fact, he pulled Pargo out of the game early on last night. Tipped off a San Diego player. Here's the player of the year in the conference, Jeremy Pargo, and he blew a couple of defensive assignments. He came right out and sacked.
You know what? And as players, you love that. That's equal opportunity bashing. You get a lot of respect from your players when you get your best player and you treat him like you would the last player on the bench.
Stephen Gray, who can shoot the three very well, misses this time. So we're under 10 minutes and a 3-point lead for the Bulldogs. Cuso working extremely hard, and he has played throughout their matchups very well against Gino Palmieri. Landon Johnson, a sliver of open room. That's all he needs.
Yeah, he's having to work really hard, Terry, to try to get his shot.
Isolating Cuso on the block, and nothing you can do with him down there.
Nice lead pass by Jeremy Pargo. San Diego's going to have to pressure the basketball. Those entry passes into the post are too easy. The San Diego big men will end up in foul trouble if they don't get help from their perimeter defenders.
Jackson almost lost it out of bounds. Pargo using his body defensively. Here comes Brandon Johnson. He made a few of those in the semifinals. Jackson, no. Here comes Day. And the Zags. Haven't had as many opportunities to run as you might expect. Saw Cuso out ahead of the pack the one time. That's been it.
Yeah, he beat Palmieri early in the game, but San Diego making an effort to get back defensively. Well, DeJon Jackson was open there for a second.
Good swing down low to Jones, and he's fouled. Rob Jones will go to the free throw line. Championship week continues on ESPN and ESPN2 Tuesday night. First at 7 Eastern. You got on ESPN2 the Big East Women's Championship presented by Aeropostale. Louisville, West Virginia against UConn. What a great year for Gino Auriemma again. And then Cleveland State and Butler. Who's going to announce that game from the Horizon League?
I think it's two announcers that are on the air right now.
Why? I hope we make that red eye tonight. The Cleveland State beat Butler earlier in the year.
Yes. Gary Waters has his team playing outstanding basketball. That's Rust Belt basketball, their partner. They get after it. Very physical, undersized on the interior, but no lack of heart there.
3 losses for Butler. That's it all season. That's solid program, huh?
Senior leadership, they just revolve similar to this Gonzaga ball club. They can lose great players, but they somehow find them. Like Mike Green, point guard.
Bolden, the quick burst. You don't see that as often from Matt Bolden. That first step, and he's got 4.
And Terry, once again, here's the versatility. Pargo goes to the bench, and Matt Bolden can run the point.
Jackson floating in off the glass. DeJon Jackson, the sophomore from Fresno, California, thrown away, and it goes back to the Toreros.
Well, Matt Bolden showing his versatility. Said, I can play the 2, but I can play a little point as well.
Reese, thank you very much. I think a lot of people are surprised at that.
I'm surprised at that as well.
Luke coming back, though. Tickets already punched. Starting with Cornell, winning the Ivy League, first time since '88. George Mason, obviously, and Siena. And the question that everyone in this conference is asking, what about St. Mary's? Tonight, the automatic bid on the line. So it's either San Diego or Gonzaga. If it's Gonzaga, and they take it right away from San Diego on the inbound, Gray, the bucket. So the 5-point lead. If Gonzaga wins, you would expect Gonzaga and St. Mary's to be in the tournament. If San Diego wins, what happens to St. Mary's?
Well, the conventional thought is that the tournament selection committee doesn't look at conferences necessarily for at-large bids. But I beg to differ. And I think that St. Mary's will be sweating bullets, but I think they've done enough work, Terry, to get in, even if San Diego pulls off the upset and gets the bid here by winning the conference tournament.
Well, the major directing which is, don't look at the conferences and how many from each conference, but just the teams overall, would aid them in this because this conference has never gotten 3. And if San Diego were to win tonight, that's what would have to happen for St. Mary's to go. Out of bounds, Gonzaga basketball. But St. Mary's with 25 wins. They've had a spectacular season. They just collapsed in the second half last night.
Yeah, they really did. And it was surprising to see because it was a tale of 2 different games. St. Mary's had total control. They were doing what they wanted to do on the offensive end. And all of a sudden, San Diego wakes up with 10 minutes left and unbelievable comeback.
St. Mary's with an RPI of 38, so that is very good. Heitfeld missed the alley-oop. Brandon Johnson on the run. One-on-one with Pargo, the foul on Jeremy.
Wow.
There's your matchup in the open floor.
Really heads-up play. Look at this pass by Jeremy Pargo. Normally, Heitfeld finishes that with no problem. But the way that Brandon Johnson got that loose ball and got to the other end, probably under 3 seconds, showed a 5th gear that we haven't seen that much throughout the tournament.
Johnson the miss. Brandon a 65% free throw shooter. That's it. You would expect him to be better than that at the line. As good a shooter as he is. Free throw situation. Neither team able to connect from 3-point range yet. 0 for 2 for San Diego, 0 for 3 for the Zags.
Well, that's a tough matchup for Rob Jones trying to guard Jeremy Pargo out on the perimeter.
Heitfeld can't buy it. He was moved away from the block by Palmer. Jermaine Johnson backs up. Heitfeld the rebound. Even though he had a big game last night, Josh did 15 points. He only had 2 rebounds. Gray over Jones. Who gave him the look? Jeremy Pargo.
Yeah, keeping his head up, advancing the ball up the court. Doing a good job. Stephen Gray getting behind the defense. I really like Stephen Gray. We talked about him before, Terry. Doesn't change facial expressions, but very solid. Doesn't make turnovers, can nail the open shot, can get to the bucket, and is a sneaky athlete.
The reach on Pargo. We'll see if they call him or Heitfeld for the body. Yep. It's Pendergraft with his first.
Well, the assist leader in the West Coast Conference, Jeremy Pargo, head always up, coming up the floor. Knows he draws a lot of traffic in the paint. Looking for his teammates. Nice lead pass over the top of the D. And if you don't pressure Jeremy Pargo, he'll make passes like this on you all night long.
Devin Ginty's just come off the bench, a freshman from Alta, California. The feed into Palmer, one-on-one with Heitfeld. They went at it at the other end. This time Heitfeld gets the better end of it. And the foul on San Diego. It's Rob Jones who'll pick up his first.
Well, San Diego find it difficult here in the half-court set. They've had a little success when they've been able to push it up. But Gonzaga, very good defensively here thus far in the first half. Oh, nice hesitation.
And then he missed the easy one. Well, that kills it. Speaking of hesitation, Brandon Johnson, he's got 9. Pargo forcing it this way.
And it may appear on television that Jeremy Pargo is out of control, but they will get up and down. He can handle the basketball. He loves to force the issue. Ginty can hit that.
In and out. A little bit flat, but the offensive rebound to Jones.
Crowd wanted Devin to put up another heat check, but I like the decision. Take it down, run your offense.
Jones from Palmer. So they double the big fella. Jones goes right to the hoop. Good recognition.
Great recognition, and that's a tough pass. You got Heitfeld at 6'11", and Pendergraft coming on a hard double, but Palmer somehow gets it out of the double team. Well, Heifeld looks a little shook up, Terry, after missing that alley-oop dunk. Just like he's lost a little bit of his aggressiveness.
Hargo wanted him to roll. He would have been open, and he never moved. Jeremy, way too strong. Pendergraft, who made the all-conference team this year. Hargo, the block on Ginty. Got there late.
Good call.
15 foul on San Diego. Got a good one going on in the championship of the West Coast Conference, though. When we come back, who's in? You make the call. Pressure's on. That is not a good feeling, Reese. I've been there, done that. You don't want to watch that show to find out if you're in, but where you're going. And we chose these schools who are similar in terms of around the bubble. Joe Lenardi, our bracketology expert. Are they in?
Well, Joey Brackets has 5 of the 6 in, and with St. Joseph's being on the bubble, but that's quite a group. I like St. Mary's. I think they're in.
South Alabama, though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough to lose their conference tournament championship.
You see right here, there is no category that says I don't know. See, there's either overall record, Lenardi's projected seed. What's the Bardo projected seed?
No, it doesn't say Bardo. It says are they in?
I'm asking for the Bardo.
Why don't I ask for the Gannon? What do you think?
Because I asked first. The pressure was on you. How about St. Mary's, though? I mean, all along the last month or so, within the league, there was a general feeling, Gonzaga, St. Mary's. But when you come to someone's home, you're playing at San Diego,
right,
there's a very real possibility that they'd make a run and win this tournament after what a great season St. Mary's has had. It is a tough way to go out last night.
It really is.
And they're sweating right now.
They are sweating. And Terry, I think the tournament selection committee needs to take into consideration that St. Mary's, the number 2 seed, had to play on San Diego's home court. And it is a conference tournament. I know that. But that's a tougher road than any other team on their level that has to go through around the country.
Palmer can't buy it, but he'll go to the line. Cuso with the foul. That's his second. The argument on the other side is that St. Mary's did not get their wins on the road. They got them at home, and late they lost the bracket buster to Kent State. They lost to Gonzaga. Now they've lost to San Diego in their first game in this tournament. Big East Championship presented by Aaron Paul Stahl at noon Eastern time on Wednesday. Syracuse and another team that perennially is on the ball. And Villanova, then Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. And they just live right there.
Yeah. Boy, it's been an up and down year, but that Big East is a monster. Each and every night throughout that 16-team conference, and well, they eat each other up.
Micah Downs, who dislocated his finger in the final regular season game and has it taped up tonight, wanted the call, didn't get it. You got to credit Billy Greer's club. Despite having to play 3 games in 3 nights, 50 minutes last night, they've had plenty of energy so far.
They really have, and the defense has been solid besides the first little rush that Gonzaga put on them. Oh, that's a foul.
Didn't call it either time. Palmer didn't give up, though. The tough bucket off the glass.
Man.
With 8.
That was a hatchet job along the block there. Palmer kept his composure.
Strip, no call. They are letting them play. We're tied at 25. San Diego looking to take the lead. Jackson, the long 3. I didn't even think he really got the handle on it. 3-point lead. They're going crazy into Jenny Craig. The Slim Jim's rocking.
You look at Palmer. Watch him on the block. Now Terry. Oh, okay, from that angle, that looks a lot better. I stand corrected. That was a pretty good no call right there.
I hope you would. The officials don't have that advantage. You have it. At least you admit when you're wrong.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. John Jackson stepped up big time right there.
12-4 run by San Diego to take this 3-point lead. The Cisco halftime report coming up in just a few moments. Reese Davis, Doug Gottlieb in the studio. They're going to discuss St. Mary's chances. 2 more tickets punched, and Lute Olson coming back to Arizona. Hey, the career he's had, come on back as many times as you want. But it is surprising. I think most in the coaching community thought that was it.
I thought it was it as well. And Kevin O'Neal, I thought, has done a fantastic job this season giving Arizona some toughness.
Hargo on the miss. That last three by Jackson was the first for either team in the game. Jones, Heitfeld, would have blocked that with his elbow. Out of bounds, it stays here with the Toreros.
Well, the Toreros have a lot of fight in them, though, Terry. They are going at it. Every loose ball now in the last 3 minutes, they've been able to come up with. Looked like Bolden had a little lead going after that basketball, but Rob Jones would not be denied. You know, it's interesting to watch how certain players respond under this type of pressure. You would think Gonzaga doesn't have pressure on them already in the tournament, but they want to win as badly as San Diego does.
Palmer, another offensive rebound. He fades back to the free throw line for the jumper. He's in double figures. Austin Day, And these are not great shots that Gonzaga's getting.
And they're only giving them one shot at the bucket.
Tipped out by the Zags.
I think Gino Palmer owns a truck because he's got a lot of garbage here in the first half, Terry. He has collected some offensive rebounds, some long, loose balls. He's been able to come up with them.
10 points, 8 rebounds for Gino Palmer, the junior from El Camino High School in Oceanside, California. They have a 5-point lead over the #1 seed. A reminder, Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, rolling on tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, the Big East Women's Championship. And either Louisville or West Virginia taking on #1 UConn. And then we wrap it up at 9 o'clock Eastern in the Horizon League with Cleveland State and #10 Butler. We told you about the last time that the Zags lost, and it was to these guys. Jason Keat back in 2003.
Yeah, they did a terrific job here in the Slim Gym. Got the win over Gonzaga and ended their run. And Bill Greer hoping to see some deja vu with that one here tonight.
And there's the banner. It ended one run and kicked off another run for Gonzaga. They keep going on those runs. But Billy Greer, a big part of that. In fact, a decade and a half and then some. 16 years in Spokane. But now, certainly hoping that the Zags don't win another title.
And Terry, you know what was I just realized what was so impressive the last 3 minutes. San Diego took the lead and Brandon Johnson was on the bench getting rest.
Yep.
You can't ask for much more if you're Bill Greer.
He's back on the floor for this final 30 seconds. 3-second difference or thereabouts. Shot clock to game clock.
Jeremy Pargo, either a 1-4 flat situation, letting him penetrate, or a high screen and roll. Josh Heitfeld coming up at the last minute.
Time and again, Gonzaga executes at the end of a half. Downs, they'll count the bucket. There's no whistle, even though the shot clock was running out. Billy Greer thinks that it ran out. But the bucket counts. And again, they get one right before the break.
Non-stop movement by Micah Downs on the backside. And let's take a look.
It's still in his hand. And it's awfully close, but that's in his hand. You don't agree?
No, I don't know. Let's say
there is no I don't know.
Terry, I don't know because the clock that we see is slightly behind the actual clock. So I don't like to make judgment calls on that because.
Go ahead. Ball's in hand.
Yeah, but we can't see the shot clock on top of the basket.
Right here, shot clock. All right, you're not going to go there.
No, I'm not going there. I've seen too many. I've seen too many this year.
In any case, San Diego closes on a 16-8 run. Billy Greer's club trying to get to the NCAA tournament. It's 30-27 as we check in with Reese Davis and Doug Gottlieb in our ESPN studio for the Cisco Halftime Report. half of basketball to decide the automatic bid from the West Coast Conference as we welcome you back to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. The number 3 seed, the Toreros, at home, trying to pull off the upset, leading the top seed, Gonzaga Bulldogs. Terry Gannon back with Stephen Bardo, and San Diego in the first half shot just 38%, but they destroyed Gonzaga on the glass for the 3-point lead. Did some damage without Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, Gino Palmieri did a great job. He did his Fred Sanford imitation to the best. Picked up junk all first half long and got them the lead late down the stretch.
Johnson, though, the guy that really took over last night in the semifinal win and started to do that in the first half against the Zags tonight.
Yeah, he's a shot maker, shot creator, and got his team going with some tough looks there. Nice roll there, nice finger roll in that's the Missouri City right there.
That one right there.
Yeah, that's not the fifth floor, that's Missouri City. But then Gonzaga and Jeremy Pargo not scoring probably as well as he would like, Terry, but doing an excellent job of setting up his teammates. Every time he's got his head up trying to advance the basketball and laser-like passes like that to his teammates. And let's take a look inside the play, and look here, Jeremy's always got his head up directing. Look at the eye contact between he and Abdullah Kuso right there. And then watch Abdullah Kuso hold down the arm of his defender, Chris Lewis, giving an opening for Jeremy Pargo right over the top of the defender. Nice lead pass. Nice 1 out, 4 out, 1 in action by Gonzaga.
All right, check out our first half stats brought to you by Guinness. Brilliant. And 38%. That's it from the floor for San Diego. Second chance points, though. That's where they did a lot of work, 12 of those. And look at the rebounding edge, 23-13 in favor of the Toreros. We open up the second half. Gonzaga basketball. Stephen Gray, the freshman, the lay-in, and it's a 1-point game. Now you watch the second half now, and you wonder, can Billy Greer's club keep their legs? All the minutes they've played last night, the double overtime game, 3 games in 3 nights. We'll see if fatigue plays a factor.
Well, you know, Terry, they're not quite as old as we are, so I think they can pull it off.
Adrenaline and youth go a long way, don't they?
That's right. And maybe a little bit of ignorance. You know, they don't know that they're supposed to be tired in this situation.
Well, you dangle that NCAA automatic bid out there, and that goes a long way as well to keeping you fresh. Gray had the first one. Now he's got 2 in a row.
And I love this young man. He glides. He just plays the game the way it should be played. He has a blast doing it, and he's really dangerous on the offensive end.
By the way, we did have someone talk to the officials at the break, and they said that shot clock violation wasn't at the end of the first half. It was not a reviewable play, and of course, you do have to, we couldn't hear whether the horn sounded. So we're at a bit of a disadvantage there. In any case, it was a bucket. Here's Johnson with a deep corner 3. Jermaine Johnson, the freshman from Kingwood High School in Houston. 2-point lead for San Diego. Back comes Pargo. Well, celebrate your hoop.
Hey, it's just like the first half. Remember, Gonzaga got out quickly, Terry, pushing the ball up the court. San Diego having a tough time adjusting. That time, Gino Palmieri lost his footing and wasn't in the paint to clog up that penetration. Pargo recognizing that takes advantage.
It's Stephen Gray who's matched up with Brandon Johnson. Here's Jackson. And the foul on Kuso. For Abdullah, that's his 3rd.
Well, Abdullah Kuso has been very effective. He got the start tonight, Terry. We had been seeing Robert Sacre, the big 7-foot freshman that would get the start, and then you would see Kuso and Heitfeld. But they chose to start with Abdullah Kuso, and he's really thrown his body around here.
That developed. There's Sacre, the freshman from North Vancouver, British Columbia. That developed a couple of weeks ago when they sent Josh Heitfeld to the bench. He was struggling a bit, wasn't giving them the same production, and some of that due to the injury, trying to come back from that. Heitfeld back on the floor now. So they started Sacre because Kuso said, I don't really like starting. I'd rather come off the bench. Sacre, he gets a confidence boost by being a starter, only plays a few minutes. Kuso still plays all of his minutes, and they work in Heitfeld.
Wow, another offensive rebound for San Diego. That's what got them the lead in the first half, just really dominating and getting every loose ball, Terry. Tulane got to give it up.
Yeah, pressure by Pargo. Palmer, jump hook. Offensive rebound again. This time for Jackson.
Well, I've just been so impressed with San Diego's shot selection. 2 or 3 shots they've had to force because of the shot clock running down, but they've been very patient and stuck with their game plan.
Rob Jones changed by Heitfeld, tipped up, Pendergraft the rebound.
Well, and Fred Sanford, a.k.a. Gino Palmer, was right there once again. Looked like there was a little contact on his follow-through.
Heitfeld steps back, a la Sigma, off the glass and in.
That's a pretty move by Josh Heitfeld. Moving away from the defense, taking what the defense gives you. Such a lost art for young players in the post area these days.
Josh with 6 in the game. And they run the shot clock down again. 65 points a game. This is a team that doesn't want to run up and down the floor with Gonzaga. That's in the miss. Here comes Pargo. Change of direction. Woo! Take that.
Terry Pargo. Once again, Terry, if Gino Palmer and Rob Jones don't commit to getting back in the paint, Pargo knows that once he gets past that first level of pressure, there's not going to be anyone at the rim that can stop him.
There are always NBA scouts at Gonzaga's games. Throughout the year, just talking to them, they've had some doubts about Pargo shooting the outside jumper, and those still exist. But I think the belief that he can play at the next level has grown throughout the year.
I totally agree, Terry, and he's a lead guard, a pass-first point guard that can score and take over when necessary. Right there.
Sets up Bolden for the open three. Short. Pendergraft. Garbage bucket for Pendo. The lead extended to 5. They're celebrating on the Zag sideline.
Well, Gonzaga coming out strong the second half. They were beat on the offensive glass in the first half. They're trying to return the favor now.
All right, Reese, thank you. Back here, our Valvoline game track. San Diego, you see the first half with the 3-point lead. All Gonzaga so far here in the second, though. Palmer nearing a double-double, and the Zags starting on a 12-4 run in the second half. And a 4-1 rebound margin here in the second half. That's what they needed to turn around, as you mentioned.
Yeah, San Diego lived on the offensive glass, and you know, if they can shorten the game up, take time in each possession, and get a good look at the bucket, then they crash the glass. Rob Jones and Gino Palmer very adept at getting loose balls and offensive rebounds.
Palmer down to Jones. Recognition by the big fella as he was doubled. 6 of 7 Gonzaga is here in the second half so far. Pargo again with that crossover. Not this time. San Diego looking to run. One of the rare opportunities. Tremaine Johnson off the glass and in.
Hey, that's pretty, Terry. You don't see that a lot. A guard coming on a fast break situation, pulling up from 8 feet off glass. That's old school right there for the freshman from Houston.
They're not going away easily. Bolden draws the foul. They're going to count the bucket. The whistle was early. Well, NBA continuation.
No doubt about it. You see, Gonzaga's made a nice adjustment in the second half as they clear out one side. Pargo and Bolden go one-on-one.
Mark Few talking to his freshman. We step away. When we come back, it's Bardo's best in the West. Look out. 3-point lead for Gonzaga here in San Diego. The final edition of Bardo's Best in the West. I know you have a tear in your eye. Go ahead.
Well, you take a look at last week's lineup right there. UCLA and Stanford very strong at the top. BYU moving in the top 5. Let's see the movement. Woo! Looks like the Dow Jones average there.
Well, St. Mary's obviously dropping. Gonzaga going up. I don't see San Diego anywhere on that list.
No, San Diego's got to have another epic win in order to crash the party.
UCLA again at the top. When they make a shot like that, they count a shot like that.
Right.
They continue winning games like that. You do start to you raise an eyebrow and say, maybe it's destiny.
I think so. And Terry, you've heard me say UCLA all season long.
I know.
I like them to take the title, and they just find a way to make it happen.
Who do you think is right behind them? Carolina maybe? Kansas maybe?
I thought it was Duke, but the way that North Carolina stepped up in their last game and showed some toughness, if they can stay healthy and if Ty Lawson can get as close to 100%, North Carolina's going to be tough to beat.
Certainly made a difference. First matchup with Duke as opposed to the second.
And Kansas is right there too, Terry.
Not much they don't have. All the different pieces that you look for. Under 5 on the shot clock. Jackson had to force one off balance. Remember, they had 3 shot clock violations in the first half.
Here, Gonzaga going to the 3-man weave, trying to find a crease here at the top of the key.
I hope that they get a switch that they can then take advantage of.
Well, that was good defense, keeping Fargo in front.
Day at 6'11", there's the double. Heitfeld, jump hook, gets the roll. Josh Heitfeld with 8 in the game.
Gonzaga starting to find some rhythm here. They've gotten a couple of easy looks on some fast breaks, and now in the half-court set, they're spreading San Diego out and looking for the mismatch. And with Austin Day on the floor, it's not difficult to find it with him.
Hargo and Gray both went with Brandon Johnson, and that freed up Tremaine Johnson, the freshman, to knock one down.
Tremaine Johnson starting to redeem himself. He had a couple questionable plays last night.
Bit of a lazy pass, lazy effort to go after it. Mark Few not happy. And Gonzaga has not been able to speed this game up, which is what they'd like to be able to do. Turnovers even. Jones, baseline jumper, rattles it home. They're not leaving for a while.
No, and you know what? The longer this game goes, Terry, the more the pressure mounts on Gonzaga.
The turnover, giving it back to the Toreros. I think you're absolutely right.
You know, there's pride involved for this Gonzaga ball club. They know they're going to the tournament, but they don't want to be the ones that break the streak of dominance that they've held here in the West Coast Conference tournament. So San Diego playing for their NCAA tournament lives right now and playing fairly loose.
So many of the guys on that bench over there. David Pendergraft, the senior, for example, his 4th year, he doesn't know what it's like not to win the regular season title and the tournament crown. Jones, who was a great tight end in high school, by the way, and highly recruited on the miss, knocked out of bounds, but it's San Diego basketball.
Yeah, Rob Jones got to have a little confidence and step up and hit that open jumper.
Jones, the freshman from Archbishop Bryant High School in San Francisco, recruited by the likes of USC, Notre Dame, Cal, Oregon State as a tight end. Chose to play hoops.
So he wanted a little bit more longevity, huh? That gridiron is
Have you ever gone to a football practice in college?
Yes.
One look at that, I'd choose basketball, especially 2-a-days. Clinton Houston off the bench for San Diego. Another youngster, a freshman from Marcus High School in Dallas. Here's Jones. The Day might have a tough time with that tight end body, keeping him out of the paint.
Well, this is true. San Diego, once again, trying to create some buckets without Gino Palmer or Brandon Johnson on the floor right now.
Block by Downs. Shot clock running out. Ginty lets it fly, and he has it.
You talk about UCLA, and you start to think certain things. We've seen shots like this for the second consecutive night from San Diego.
Hargo answers, taking the youngster as close to the hoop as he can.
Jeremy Fargo putting Tremaine Johnson on his hip. Come along for the ride, young fella.
Pargo with 12.
I tell you, I am so impressed with San Diego. Their two main guys on the bench, and they are balling right now.
Ginty drives, dishes, Jackson nails a three. Timeout in the action. And the Toreros start to celebrate. They can feel it a little bit. Starting to heat up, too.
Yeah, they're really starting to heat up. Spreading the defense out off the dribble penetration. This is great defense here by Micah Downs using that 6'8" frame. But Jackson looking for Ginty behind him, and that was a deep three, T. That looked like one of yours. And then Ginty returning the favor. Dejan, not great poupon from the wing.
So Billy Greer against his mentor, Mark Few. And the first-year head coach at San Diego with the advantage right now. So the West Coast Conference Championship game tonight, but championship week continues on ESPN and ESPN2 tomorrow night. Two college hoops games, first at 7 Eastern on ESPN2. The Big East Women's Championship presented by Aeropostale. The winner of Louisville, West Virginia. Now, it is Louisville, by the way, taking on UConn, the #1 team in the nation. And then our game will be in Indianapolis for the Horizon League Championship. Cleveland State and Butler. Should be a good one there. The two coaches, though, what a great subplot in this one. Much of what Billy Greer knows as a coach, he learned on the bench in Spokane. And he's been a great part of their success. Now trying to beat his former squad and his former head coach. Walking violation on Cuso. It'll be San Diego basketball when we come back. That man's team down by 4. Thanks, Reese. Back here, it is a 4-point lead for the #3 seed. San Diego looking to pull off the upset. People in Moraga, California getting a little bit nervous right now. 3-point shooting, certainly a difference in this game.
Yeah, they were 0 in the first half from three-point land, but they've gotten some great looks off dribble penetration that have not involved Brandon Johnson necessarily. Devin Ginty, Tremaine Johnson's done a good job. Rob Jones has set up some of his teammates. Other guys stepping up right now. And with Brandon Johnson on the bench, I know he's getting valuable rest, but he's probably a little anxious to get back in on the fun.
What do you make of Gonzaga being 0 for 5 from three-point range for the game?
You know what I think, Terry? It's a combination of a little fatigue, but I think it's more of the pressure of this game and the fact that they punch San Diego in the mouth, and all of a sudden San Diego works their way back into it. And I don't know if they think or if they thought that San Diego was going to be here this late in the game.
A week ago tonight against Santa Clara, Gonzaga had 13 threes in the win. Tonight, none. Jones and the foul, Pendergraft bailed him out with 4 on the shot clock. The matchup between these two, a couple of them earlier this season, a 10-point win for Gonzaga, 4-point win for Gonzaga. Bolden leading the way the first time.
Yeah. You see that last game, February 18th, 17 turnovers for Gonzaga. They've got 10 already, Terry. So San Diego has a way of making you rush a little bit and forcing you out of your comfort zone. Their strong man-to-man defense.
Gonzaga had 17 turnovers in last night's game against Santa Clara, and that was a half-court game. That's one area where the Zags certainly would like to improve.
Watch, they'll clear out a side here and let the dribble penetration.
Gray, the release for Bolden. Pargo says, clear it out. I want to take the youngster one-on-one. And they'll call the foul on Tremaine Johnson. Doing everything he can to keep Jeremy Pargo from driving. Probably saying, if you're not going to let me do this, I've got no shot.
Well, and Jeremy Pargo, Cuso was trying to post up. He got him out of there. And that's what you want your leader to do. Create something where there appears to be nothing.
Haley Greer able to continue to buy time. Brandon Johnson on the bench. Under 10 minutes. They switch back. Pargo, Palmer, but the offensive foul on Pargo. He knocked Tremaine Johnson to the deck.
Well, Jeremy Pargo insistent on getting to the hole right here. And that shoulder, that's a pretty good call. Didn't look like Tremaine Johnson was faking it all. He just got hit with that power shoulder.
That's 6'2", 220 hitting you with that shoulder.
That's right.
11 turnovers. Second foul on Pargo. 13th foul on the Zags. Oh, how did he get it there? Underneath the Jackson from Tremaine Johnson.
Terry, San Diego's ball movement and player movement off the ball are so impressive.
The Zags answer. Bolden to Kuso. Similar play.
Very similar. You see there's a lot of action with the wings crossing underneath. So whenever there's dribble penetration, if one defender comes to help, there's always someone that shakes free along the baseline.
Kuso fronting Palmer. There's the double. They'll call Kuso for the reach.
Terry, let's take a look back to inside the play here. Look at Abdullah Kuso read the defense. He feels Gino Palmer hedging too high. Nice slip pass by Matt Bolden. J.C. Penney inside the play.
Matt Bolden, fortunate for the Zags. They called the reach on Bolden, not Kuso. Kuso already has 3 fouls. That's just the first on that. Inside out they go. Back to Jackson. He's got the big fella on him. So Palmer's got Pendergraft.
And they're going to try to let, looks like Jackson go one-on-one.
Jean draws the foul, and so they pick up that extra foul on Kuso. That's a smart play.
It is. Great recognition by San Diego that time in the half-court set.
Kuso having trouble keeping up with the Joneses. More on the Jones story when we come back. San Diego looking to go to the dance. Nighttime scene here in San Diego. It's been absolutely gorgeous, the weather the last few days here on the West Coast. Championship game of the West Coast Conference with San Diego up by 5, looking to pull off the upset over Gonzaga. Rob Jones, a big part of the effort for the Toreros throughout the year and tonight. The freshman with 9 points. Interesting background for him.
Yeah, Rob Jones, the grandfather of the Jones tragedy that people have come to know in the late 70s down in Guyana. That was his grandfather, Jim Jones, that had that terrible situation where the people were forced to drink Kool-Aid that was poisoned and killed hundreds of people. Luckily for Rob, his father was playing basketball at the time. It was not there. And it came back to the Bay Area, and Rob able to continue to play and has lived with those memories and has had an outstanding freshman year here at San Diego.
His father part of the group that was touring playing basketball, asked to come back to the camp and to sense that something was up and decided not to, fortunately. So Rob, in his first year here on the campus of the University of San Diego, Bolden, and they whistle the foul. That's Jackson. Will pick up his second. But just one final note to that story. I understand he doesn't really comment on it.
That's right.
And I would understand that at some point you'd get a little tired of hearing that story told over and over when you had nothing to do with that tragedy.
That's correct. And, you know, you want to move on with your life. You want to have your own clean slate to make your own story. And he's doing a pretty good job of that here in San Diego.
Pendergraft with the miss. They are absolutely frigid from beyond the arc. They can't hit anything. The offensive rebound to Brandon Johnson, who's back on the floor now, well rested.
And these guys are relentless, Terry. We've seen this the last couple games where if there's a loose ball to be had, San Diego's going to get it. They're going to knock your head off. They're going to pull your shorts. Whatever they can do to get loose balls for another crack at a bucket, they're going to do.
14 offensive rebounds for San Diego. There's Jones, Pendergraph in the air, the deuce. And the lead is 8. How about this?
The best way to turn a team around, a program around, is from the defensive end and from toughness. You can play D and you can be tough every single game. That's a decision that you make. You can't always shoot the ball well, but you can out-tough people each and every night.
Gonzaga has looked uneasy, without much rhythm in their offense this second half. And for them, the worst thing that could set in right now is a little panic. The hold as Heitfeld tries to go up for a jumper. It was before any shot would have taken place, though. Jones is second.
Oh, watch Ginty. He's trying to find Brandon Johnson. And that movement, Terry, that we talked about along the baseline pays off once again. Rob Jones, the recipient of a nice pass along the baseline.
Speaking of the baseline, that's where it went, and it's San Diego basketball. But if you're marked few, and you wonder if you don't gather the troops and say, guys, there's 6.5 minutes left in this game. Let's just play our game. Because they don't look relaxed at all at this point.
No, they really don't. They look like they should be in the situation where San Diego is, playing for their lives. They're playing tight. They don't have any rhythm in the half-court set. And, Terry, if they're going to turn the tide here, it has to happen on the defensive end of the court first.
Stephen Gray matched up with Johnson. The block by Heitfeld. Great timing as Palmer went up. Hargo stops and pops. That's not his normal shot. And it starts to break for the Toreros. They've got numbers. Jones, the foul on Hargo.
Well,
they look like the more confident team at this point.
They really do, Terry. And you know what is so interesting is San Diego is making Gonzaga pay for their mistakes. That was a quick shot by Pargo. They didn't have guys get back in transition, and they're turning the tide on Gonzaga, doing to Gonzaga what Gonzaga likes to do to others.
Third foul on Pargo, the 6th team foul on the Zags, so San Diego will be shooting the rest of the way. In comes Austin Day. Jones buys another one, and the lead is double digits.
University of San Diego may have to change their nicknames from the Toreros to the Boa Constrictors because they're cutting off Gonzaga's air right now.
Timeout on the floor. 5:49 left until they decide who gets the automatic bid. And it's a 10-point lead off a 19-4 run in the last 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Much like 2003. They advanced to the final game. Jason Keep, the Toreros, able to beat the Zags, and they won the title in this building.
Slim Jim has seen it once before, and they're hoping for deja vu in the building. It was funny, Terry, watching last night in the double overtime victory, the fans were a little hesitant to rush the floor.
They did, you're right.
They were a little hesitant.
It was a delayed reaction.
A delayed reaction, but we won't see any delayed reaction if the Toreros can hold on here.
The championship game, that's your final score. And Gonzaga with 13 straight wins since. And we told you, 22 of the last 23 times these two teams have met, Gonzaga has gotten the W. And Gonzaga has also run off the streak within the tournament since 2003, since that loss. They begin to sense an opportunity, though, to actually get this win. The crowd's starting to believe here. Take a look right now at our Quiznos Who's Hot. Certainly Rob Jones with the 13 points.
Rob has done a good job of playing off of his teammates. Constant movement without the basketball.
Blocked by Palmer. He does a lot, whether it's at the defensive end or the offensive end, from away from the ball.
He really does, Terry, and his arms are really long. He's able to stay off the penetration and close at the last second. Very good timing defensively.
They post up Pargo, which Brandon Johnson will guard him, though. Heitfeld set up for the 15-footer.
You're talking about inverting the offense. You put Pargo on the post, Heitfeld comes on the perimeter. You talk about some versatility.
He hasn't been as effective this year from the perimeter, but he certainly has that game. That was his game the first couple of years. Jermaine Johnson, in and out. Jones scrambles. Day hauls it in.
A few loose balls that Gonzaga has come up with.
So do you keep doing that? I think they ride Pargo here on the offensive end, don't they?
I think you're right, because he can create and make things happen.
A little quick for that shot. Jones fills the lane just over the outstretched arm of Heitfeld.
This is something to see. San Diego has now become the fast break team.
You're right. They've totally changed who wants to do what. They're looking to run.
They're looking to run. After every miss and after every turnover, San Diego is putting on the Jets. You know, this wasn't a bad shot by Josh Heitfeld, Terry. He had a good look. But look at Gonzaga failed to get back. Stephen Gray really the only one running back. And they're running for layups.
Who looks like the tired team right now? San Diego going 50 minutes in the semifinals, double overtime, playing 3 games in 3 nights, and they've got the Zags on their heels. Certainly preparation not a problem when it's Billy Greer against Mark Few. Now, Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods rolling on. Syracuse, Villanova Wednesday at noon Eastern, then Cincinnati and Pittsburgh from the Garden. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern. Big East Championship presented by Aero Postal. If you're Mark Few right now, what'd you just tell your guys?
I tell them that I'm going high screen and roll with Austin Day and Jeremy Pargo. I've got to get Austin Day involved in the offensive end. He shoots the ball too well not to be involved.
UCLA cut. Pargo off of Heitfeld. He's fouled. Brandon Johnson. His second. And the 15th foul on San Diego.
You're talking about a Gonzaga ball club, number 22 in the country, that can now run their offense from their point guard being in the post. They've had trouble getting their traditional looks from the perimeter for Bolden and Gray, so they can adjust on the fly in trouble. That's versatility, Terry, that I believe can get them a nice run in the NCAA tournament.
Heitfeld is double. Turnaround. That's a tough shot. The follow by Pargo, though. That's the other thing he gives you.
Just the versatility is so strong from Gonzaga. And they're not done. Gonzaga's not done with this yet. They've got a few runs left in there.
Pargo with 14. San Diego working the clock a little bit. Ball was tipped. Shot clock down to 10.
Jermaine's got to go. I don't know if he sees it.
Brandon does, though. Blocked by Day, out of bounds with 3 on the shot clock. San Diego basketball. And we had a couple of situations late. Oh, a little extra. With Day and who was it? Jones? Might have been Palmer. Johnson, some big shots in the semifinal win. Some tall trees there tonight, though. All right, Reese, the automatic bid on the line here at the West Coast Conference Championship. 8-point lead for San Diego over the number 1 seed Gonzaga. The Zags with that run, losing back in 2003 in the championship game to San Diego, but then running off a string of 13 straight since that time. 72-63, the final in that game, but one of their own. Billy Greer now running the show here at San Diego against his former mentor, Mark Few. And remember the implications not only for San Diego. Gonzaga's going to already go to the NCAA tournament, but for St. Mary's also in the league, who lost last night, and all the bubble teams and their fans around the country. They're cheering for Gonzaga tonight. Palmer, another offensive rebound.
Fred Sanford at his best. All the garbage in the jump around the basket area. And Terry, I tell you what, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Villanova, Virginia Tech, all these teams watching with great interest on the outcome of this one.
Palmer, the foul, the 10th turnover for the Toreros. Only the second in the second half, though. Heitfeld, legit?
Yeah, it was legit. I mean, there was a little Lawrence Olivier at the end, but there was a little chicken wing that Fred Sanford threw out there that caused the offensive foul.
Nowhere to go.
And here they go once again, Terry, looking to break.
Jackson, Golden had to hold up. Dijon gets the easy lay-in, and the lead is 10 again. They'll call the foul on Brandon Johnson. It looked like Pargo ran into his own player.
Bill Greer fell on the ground. He reacted to the call, falling right on the floor. Boy, you think he's not into it.
Billy says, no way.
Look at far corner. Look at Billy Greer. And he just sits down in disbelief. Well, you think he's not into it. But, Terry, you know what is interesting? Bill Greer knows the psyche more so than anything. He knows the X's and O's, but he knows how these players from Gonzaga will respond in pressure situations. And he knew that if he could get to a certain point in the game, that they could put a little bit of pressure on Gonzaga, he would know how they would respond. So very interesting dynamic here.
Easier said than done, obviously.
That's right.
But you're right, and there are no secrets in this game. The two coaches run similar styles, similar schemes, and certainly know everything about the other one. Jermaine Johnson, line drive three, rattles in and out.
Well, that was a good look. Good ball movement. Johnson wide open. That's not a good look.
Good follow, and another one by Kuso. The lead is 6. Kuso with 9.
Well, you see what Mark Few has in mind, Terry. Kuso coming back in the game. He's got to get somebody to keep Gino Palmer off the offensive glass.
Clear it out for Brandon. Gives it up to the other Johnson. Tremaine to Jones. And they'll run the clock down and spread it. Home crowd counting out the seconds. Day clears it. Gonzaga's gone 491 straight games with a three-pointer. They have yet to hit one tonight. Woo! What a save by Johnson. He's got numbers. The lob to Jones, swatted away. Great defensive play, a recovery by Day.
Oh, man. Are we seeing some action or what? These guys are going at it. Look at the pass by Austin Day and the better hands by Gino Palmer. Look at them go after the loose ball. And Austin Day finds himself right at the bucket to prevent an easy deuce by San Diego.
They'll take the air out for the moment. Can 3 from the West Coast Conference make it to the NCAA tournament? San Diego is wanting to find out. St. Mary's went down last night in the semis to the Toreros. An outstanding year. Are they in? 1 minute to go. Johnson with the shot clock running down. They didn't want to run it that far down, and it's a violation. Right in front of Billy Greer.
Good job by Gonzaga. Solid defense that time, and the place is up for grabs right now, Terry.
Looking for a stop. Pargo guarded by Brandon Johnson. They call the block on Johnson. That's his 4th. Don't forget about the Big East Women's Championship, Louisville, #1 UConn, and then the Horizon League Championship from Indianapolis. Cleveland State taking on #10 Butler. That's tomorrow night. The 1-on-1, and he misses the first.
Well, right now you got to think if you're Gonzaga, they've got to figure out a way to either foul or go for a quick steal.
So you see the team foul situation, both teams in. the 1-1. 41.5 seconds left. Cuso has just fouled out of the game.
Well, you know, San Diego's got some great contributions, and one of those players is Rob Jones. He was a little shaky last night, but he's come on strong here in the championship game, working off the ball and waiting for his teammates to find him, filling lanes, coming along the baseline, getting on the offensive glass. Rob Jones, tremendous job here in the second half for San Diego.
15 points in the game to go along with those 6 rebounds. And San Diego able to turn up the heat in the second half and as you mentioned, actually get some easy buckets in transition, which I didn't think they'd even look to do, especially with the fatigue factor. Cuso's out. And it's Gray, Pargo, Bolden, Pendergraft, and Day for Gonzaga. Jackson, a 70% free throw shooter.
That's going to be a trip to the free throw line from here on out.
Yeah. Gonzaga fans just stunned.
Along with probably most of our viewers. Maybe not knowing about the Toreros and what they've been able to do, but they've gotten a big win at Rupp Arena earlier in the year, so it's a capable ball club.
Pargo the lay-in. 6-point game. Now the pressure. Timeout, San Diego. How much would this mean personally to Bill Greer? Incredible. So both teams down to 1 timeout each. Gonzaga about to relinquish a hold on this conference they've had for a long time. Perhaps it's not over yet, but the numbers, they're just expected to win this thing every year.
The Gonzaga Bulldogs have won it 8 in the last 9 years.
99, 2000, the run continuing. And the only number you don't see up there, 2003. And that's because San Diego won it right here. That year they beat the Zags, but the Bulldogs have continued that run since.
Well, there were some questions about this Gonzaga team compared to teams in the past that have been so successful. And they don't have a 20-point score like Adam Morrison or Dan Dickow, or they don't have a big athletic guy like Ronnie Turioff.
He's in the house tonight, though, watching.
Yes, he is. And so this team has had to do it different ways.
Looking to inbound now. Johnson lost it. It was tipped out off of Gonzaga, though.
There's Ronnie Turioff right there. Not too happy with his former team, but San Diego's got 5 seconds to get it across half court here.
Yes, they do, and they get it across. Palmer all by himself. The dunk. The lead is 8. Shot clock is off. Pargo the spin, trying to do it by himself. The foul on Jones.
Well, Rob Jones trying to prevent anything easy for Pargo, and Pargo struggled at the line, so you think that might be a bad foul, but let's see if Pargo can step up.
Pargo shoots in the mid-60s. 65% for the year. Buys the first.
He steps up well that time, and right now, 7-point difference. If he hits this 6 points, Terry, I think you look for the steal on the first inbound pass. If you don't get it, you've got to foul. But you try to go for the steal the first time if you can.
We start the goodbye song in the Jenny Craig. Might be a bit premature. It's a 6-point game. San Diego with a great late season run. Lost to the Zags. They lost to St. Mary's. That was it down the stretch. And then they beat St. Mary's. They've beaten them 2 out of 3 this year.
Yes, they have. And this is breaking the pressure of Gonzaga. Getting the ball in, and Tremaine Johnson keeping his head up. Pendergraft He's into the front court trying to get the double team, and Palmer slips on the backside. And that's as much emotion as you're going to see from Gino Palmer right there.
Palmer, a 71% free throw shooter. Nails it.
Terry, I had the opportunity to come and watch San Diego in the preseason and practice. And if you could have seen that preseason practice to where they are right now, Bill Greer should be up for Coach of the Year nationally. He should at least be considered.
Day to fade. They still can't get one out there. Jermaine Johnson ahead of the pack. Little extra.
Oh, you got a technical. Coaches are never happy.
Johnson gives him a 10-point lead, and his coach just shaking his head on the sideline.
Yeah, but he's got to temper it a little bit. He knows these guys are excited in what they've been able to accomplish. 3 games in 3 days, double overtime victory when they were dead in the water last night, Terry.
They were maybe one play, one bucket by St. Mary's away from cashing it in and saying, like some of the fans, and I might have done the same thing with 10 minutes left in the game, saying, well, this is not our night, we're not going to get it done. But they didn't give up. It was that close, and somehow it turned on a dime. They were down 17 to St. Mary's, came back. Their first lead was in overtime, and now they come back with this effort against Hargo, who dunks it, and Gonzaga in their own gym, and that'll do it. San Diego, the champs here in the West Coast Conference.
Unbelievable.
And tonight, there's no hesitating. They rushed the floor immediately. Billy Greer, whose heart and soul was laid out on the other bench the last 16 years, knows those players well, and I know he feels for Gonzaga. But he's got to be a little more than pumped up right now for his squad.
Well, and Mark Few disappointed a little bit, I'm sure, with his team's performance, but you got to tip your hat to what the Toreros have been able to accomplish throughout this conference tournament. Unbelievable heart and grit in what they've been able to accomplish.
It's a great scene, though, with Billy talking to the Gonzaga players, consoling them, and still doing that, while his team and the students here at San Diego celebrate at midcourt.
Well, they had Brandon Johnson on their shoulders just a little while ago, but Terry, the West Coast Conference has got to get 3 teams in.
You believe they will get 3 and that St. Mary's will go?
I think St. Mary's has got to go in.
When you compare them to a number of the other bubble teams, their resume is still very impressive. And we'll see. The WCC trying to get 3 in. The final, 69-62. San Diego with the win here at home. They win the championship over Gonzaga. SportsCenter is next. For more on this game, tune to ESPN News for a post-game extra. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Stephen Bardo, our entire crew, I'm Terry Gannon. So long, everybody.